When two greatest minds of 1960s, Boris Spassky and Bent Larsen, played each other game, you could be sure that game will be very, very exciting. There will be no quick draw, and as a matter of fact, when Larsen plays game, there is never a quick draw. So there will be a lot of fight there, very interesting and very creative game. So one we're going to go through is beautiful example of fighting chess and one of the greatest victories by Boris Spassky, and not so flawless play by Bent Larsen. Let's go through the game. b3, e5, bishop b2, knight c6. And notice that when Bent Larsen plays, you can expect their little unusual openings. He always has his own approach to this strategy. He has his own understanding of positional play, of different position, and that brought him a lot of very fascinating victories. This game was played in USSR versus the rest of the world, and notice that Larsen was playing on a board 1 ahead of Bobby Fischer at that time. And this was his match, mini-match, micro-match against that time world champion Boris Spassky. Bishop b2, knight c6, c4, knight f6, knight f3, e4, knight d4, bishop c5, knight takes c6, and d takes c. Larsen loved having bishop on b2 because this is a powerful piece, but on the other hand, white is kind of behind in development. Black has a double pawn, but black has an open d file, and their pieces develop better, and they have some space advantage. e3, bishop to f5, queen c2, queen to e7, bishop e2, and black castles the queen side. Black is clearly ahead in development. f4, played by the white. Of course, black cannot take en passant because queen is going to take on f5. So the after f4, black played knight to g4. Now there is possible threat of bishop takes e3, and maybe knight takes e3, or maybe even queen h4 check, and after g3, queen h3, creating a lot of weaknesses on white's king side. So after knight g4, g3 was played, preventing queen h4. h5 by black. Black's intention is obvious. They want to play h4 and open the h file because white is still not developed. White goes h3, and this is the brilliant continuation of this game and brilliant conclusion. From now on, I think white is helpless. h4. I'm sure Larsen saw that playing h takes g and h takes g is extremely dangerous for him. But there is no longer any alternative. So he took the knight on g4 and pawn takes hg. Now you can see that if rook takes h8 and rook takes h8 and white takes this bishop on f5, then after rook h1 check, bishop f1 and g2, white can resign because they're getting checkmated in a couple of moves. But what is for white to do in this position? White made the only move, rook g1. Then in this position was played rook so rook g1 and rook h1. This is absolutely fascinating move, maybe move of that decade. Rook takes h1, everything is forced, there is no choice for white, and the g2, threatening simply taking rook and promoting pawn to a queen. Rook g1 would be lost immediately after queen h4, and on king d1, queen h1. White loses almost most of the pieces, and black is going to make another queen. Since white cannot take, rook takes h1, and pawn takes h1, queen, it's going to result into a checkmate. So in this position, after queen h4 check, after g2 actually, white went rook to f1, and after queen h4 check, king to d1, there is a forced mate, black played, pawn takes f1 check, and if bishop takes on f1, then bishop takes g4 check, and after king c1 and queen e1, that's a checkmate. This is an incredibly quick blowout played by Boris Spassky. It was 17-move game, and I cannot mention too many games between two strong grandmasters that can end like this with a result. With result, I mean when any side wins. There are a lot of games played between top players where they agree to a draw quickly and move 13-14, but not a result, not getting checkmated in so early stage of the game. And if you asked me who can get checkmated so quickly, what top player, I would say player that takes too many chances, and that is of course Bent Larsen. Anyway, the great performance by Spassky, very, very impressive game.